Okay, it's time to talk about this Mo Salah contract situation. I've stayed quiet about it so far, simply assuming that FSG and the representatives and Salah's agents will be in behind the scenes discussions and all will be well. But I, like probably you, saw the post-game fan interview with Mo yesterday, where he made it very clear that no one's talking to him. Now, someone is not giving us the full story here, and I don't think it's Mo Salah. I don't think Mo Salah is going out there saying no one's talking to me when they are, and yet we're getting other reports. And of course, you know my thoughts on the media. Other reports could be a load of nonsense, but that talks are going well, or things are moving along. Well, according to Mo, they're not. So let's talk about the considerations here. What could the hold up be? What could be going on in FSG's head about reasons to not sign Mo Salah or sign Mo Salah? There's only a few considerations, and I want to go through a few. One, looking at from their perspective, is age. Every time you hear about this situation, it's brought up, is age. Well, Mo Salah is 32 years and 4 months old. For an athlete of his standing, of his ability, and for someone who keeps himself in the shape that he has kept himself in, no smoking, no drinking, in the gym for hours a day, he is in peak performance. He is in the shape of his life, whether he's 32 and a bit or not. When an athlete keeps himself in that shape, you can't use the average age for a player, because he could go on for 3 or 4 more years at the very, very top of his game. And there's nothing to suggest that he won't. His stats and his numbers are as good as ever this season versus previous seasons, and in some cases they're better. He's growing as a player. He is making more assists than he has done in the past. He's scoring at the same levels as he's done in the past, and he couldn't be more essential. So age should not be a consideration here. The only consideration should be, if he wants a 5-year contract, well, you're not going to give him that at this age, but giving him 3 years just takes him to 35. So what? If they're squabbling over 2 years or 3 years, get over it, just give him the 3. So that goes on to the second point, this so-called wage structure. This could be another consideration of theirs. Well, we can't break the wage structure. Well, that is a complete and utter load of bollocks, because that's like saying, well, we can't pay over X for a player, but no, we're paying 70 million for the likes of Alisson and for the likes of Virgil van Dijk. And before we signed Alisson and Virgil van Dijk, we were like, oh no, we don't pay that much for a player. Even Klopp said it. But guess what? As soon as we had the funds, we bought 2 players for extremely high amounts of money. You know why? Because they were the best in the world in their position, and Mo Salah is the best in the world in his position. So if you're going to pay these sums, or you're going to pay this amount on a contract to any player, you're going to do it for world-class stars, and Mo Salah is world-class in every possible measurable way. So you can't compare him to others. You can't compare him to the average pay or the average wage structure, or put it into a financial model, based on the number of players you've got. He is exceptional. He is one of a kind. He is someone that you break the bank for. And he's not even asking to break the bank. He's just asking, apparently, to be kept on the same pay levels that he's on right now for an extra several years. So let's get on to point number 3. The cost of keeping him versus the cost of him leaving. And I'm just talking about the financial cost, not the on-field cost, which I'll get to. But the cost of keeping him, apparently, according to the records that I've seen, tried to be accurate here, is that he's on £18.2 million per year. So in the next 3 years, it's going to cost Liverpool 54 million to keep Mo Salah, assuming they give him a 3-year contract on the same pay that he's on today. So let's talk about replacing him. So to replace him, if there is a player out there that you can replace him with, you're going to be spending approximately 100 million to get the level of world class that he is. At least 100 million. And then you're going to have to pay them the same amount as you're paying Mo Salah. So you're going to pay them 54 million. So over the next 3 years, you're going to be paying 154 million instead of 54 million. It's simple maths, it's common sense, and it makes no sense whatsoever to look at this and say the cost of letting him go is better than the cost of keeping him. It isn't. And then, is there such a player? Is there someone that can produce the goals, the assists, the output, the creativity, everything that Mo Salah gives you as a player? There isn't one out there. He's the best in the world at what he does. Let's talk about other players considered sort of best in the world. Mbappe to Real Madrid, been a disaster. You don't know when you're bringing someone new in how good they're going to be, or if they're going to fit in. No matter what they've done in the past, with Mo Salah, you know exactly what you're going to get, because he's done it week in, week out, for year after year after year of Liverpool success. So once again, it doesn't add up, it doesn't make any sense as to why they're stalling on this. The fourth point is, this is a player who, unlike many I've ever seen, who is absolutely driven to succeed. You see him in interviews, he knows every record. Before he breaks them, he knows what records he's about to break next. He keeps track, and he is absolutely driven to beat every one of them. And you can't get better than that in a player in terms of their motivation, not just for themselves, but for the football club, for the fans, for everybody involved. This is a player who wants to succeed at every level, and once again, these players are hard to come by. There's not many of them around. They're few and far between to have this level of dedication. Already this season, he was the first to get to 10 goals and 10 assists in the top 5 European leagues, and according to an Opta stat, he has been worth, in the Premier League this season already, he's been worth 16 points to Liverpool with his goals and his assists. 16 points, that's over half of our total right there, and he's been involved in 67% of every goal that we have scored. If you're putting up a chart of pros and cons, it's all on the pro side. Fifth point, he is absolutely loved and adored by the fans, and that matters. That really matters. He's a legend of the club already. You treat legends of the club like you should. They're legends. There's reasons they're legends. He's loved because of his record, obviously, but he's loved because of his love of the club. We love him, and he loves us. And once again, how often do you get that in a player? How often do you get a player who just lives and breathes to be scoring goals and playing for Liverpool Football Club? He hardly ever misses a game. There are players 5 years younger than him, 10 years younger than him, that are out for 18 games a season, consistently, routinely. Mo is there for almost every single game that we play. Doesn't get injured. He's won golden boots. He stayed while others around him, lesser players, have moved on. I mean, Manny was a great player, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't as great as Mo Salah, and he left. Gini Wijnaldum was a great midfielder, wasn't as great a player as Mo Salah, and he left. Mo Salah is still there. Mo Salah has had offers from Saudi to make him one of the richest athletes on the planet, and he chose to stay. He chose loyalty over money, So you choose loyalty over your money. Give him what he deserves. Give him what he needs. My last point, they're all the pros. What are the cons of keeping him? There aren't any. There's none. So you pay him a bit more. It doesn't mean there's going to be players lining up saying, "Oh, if you're giving him that, I want this." No, they know that these players come along once in a generation. Once in a generation. So going back to my earlier point of who would you bring in, there's hardly anybody. There's no one you can be sure of, and he is a generational player. So by definition, there aren't any more Mo Salahs around. So FSG, if you don't sign this player, it is a dereliction of duty. It is a dereliction of your duty as the custodians of this football club. It will be genuinely one of the worst decisions you could possibly make for a football club that is challenging for honours on all fronts. Liverpool Football Club and its fan base will be worse off without him. The chance of success diminishes if we don't have Mo Salah in the team. So it's very, very simple. Get him signed, and get him signed now, because it's for the benefit of everyone, including you. You'll never walk alone. See ya. Ta-ra.